Hello fellow video game collectors, and welcome to another episode of Video Game Pickups. So first I wanted to give a shout out to fellow YouTuber Pocket Rocket Radio, who very kindly sent me this copy of Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep for the PSP. With it he also included this note, which says, "Dear Retro Power Up, thanks for making the awesome videos that you make. You seem like a really cool dude and that you're really passionate about gaming. I always enjoy seeing your positivity and enthusiasm. I hope you like Birth by Sleep and you can complete your Kingdom Hearts collection soon. Take care and happy gaming. Signed, Pocket Rocket Radio." Thank you so much, Pocket Rocket Radio. I really appreciate you sending me this game. So, Birth by Sleep is another fantastic title in the Kingdom Hearts series. You can play as one of three characters. They tell the same story but from different angles. It also has a really good combat system, very similar to the other titles in the series. If you're a fan of the Kingdom Hearts series, be sure to pick this one up. And so this now leaves me with just needing Kingdom Hearts Recoded for the DS in order to complete my Kingdom Hearts collection. The rest of my pickups are going to come from Goodwill store called The Grid, which is located in Charlotte, North Carolina. I don't get to go to Charlotte very often, but when I do, I make sure I stop by this store. In case you're not familiar with it, The Grid is a video game and electronics only Goodwill store. Goodwill will take donated games from other Goodwill locations and funnel them into this specific store. So the first thing I got from The Grid for $10 for PlayStation 2 was a copy of Dark Cloud. I've heard a lot of amazing things about this series, as there's also a sequel, Dark Cloud 2. I know Brittney the Blondenerd has talked about it before on her channel, as it's her grandmother's favorite game, so I've learned a lot about this game from her channel. I've never played it before, so I'm pretty excited to check it out. This is an action RPG that will remind you a lot of the more recent Zelda games, as it has a very similar combat system, including the targeting system. Dungeons also have a similar Zelda feel, with looking for chests and the like, but they are also randomly generated, so one dungeon is not like any other dungeon. The game also has some optional city building elements too. Another game I picked up from The Grid was Crash Twinsanity for $3.50. I picked this one up mostly for my fiance. She is a really big Crash Bandicoot fan. This is actually an upgrade copy, as the current disc I have, it has disc read issues, and so it's currently unplayable. This is the 5th game in the main Crash series. This game is less of going down single corridors of the classical Crash games. Instead, it's more of an open world-like adventure game, kind of like Mario or Banjo-Kazooie games. You also spend a lot of time in this game with Cortex, which makes for some pretty humorous scenes. And the entire soundtrack in this game is a cappella, and it actually sounds amazing. This is probably the last good Crash game, and so grab it if you love any of the older Crash games and you want to experience a new twist on the series. Then for $9, I grabbed a copy of Star Wars Rogue Squadron 2 Rogue Leader. I picked up this game mostly because I already own and have beaten Rogue Squadron 3 for GameCube. I loved Rogue Squadron 3, so I definitely want to see what the second game is about. Like all the Rogue Squadron games, it's not an easy game at all. This game is all about flying various ships from Star Wars and shooting down Imperials. You can fly all sorts of ships, including X-Wings, Y-Wings, Snowspeeders, and even B-Wings. You'll place missions based on a lot of familiar scenes from the original Star Wars trilogy. Pick it up if you're looking for a fun but challenging game to play. And then I picked up a slew of N64 games to help complete my N64 collection. I'll go into more detail about each of these games later in my quest for N64 series, which you should definitely watch, as I recently put out part 2 of my quest. I'll have a link to that in the description below. So basically I just picked up any N64 game that I didn't already have, so some of these titles are great and others are just sports games. For $9 I got a copy of Battletanx. This game is all about driving a tank around and blowing up other tanks, and it also has a lot of cool destruction physics. Then for $5 I picked up a copy of ECW Hardcore Revolution. This is a wrestling game that focuses only on ECW wrestlers. However, it looks and plays like WWF Attitude, as it uses the exact same game engine. It's essentially a clone of Attitude with just the different wrestlers from ECW. Then for $5 I picked up a copy of Rugrat Scavenger Hunt. I remember watching this cartoon all the time as a kid, but this game, it's a board game video game, sort of like Mario Party, except it's not as good as Mario Party. For $5 I got a copy of Elmo's Number Journey. Yes, that's right, another kid's game. So this is an educational game where you basically just walk around, talk to Sesame Street characters, and collect numbers. It's not a great game at all, even just as an educational game. For $9 I got a copy of Rayman 2 The Great Escape. This is the sequel to the original Rayman game, which was a 2D platformer on PlayStation, Sega Saturn, and the Atari Jaguar. Rayman 2 was first released on the N64 before any other platform. This game took Rayman into 3D for the first time. It is a great 3D adventure platforming game for the N64, so definitely check it out. Then I got Body Harvest for $8. This game is like a 3D action third-person shooter. It has a ton of different vehicles that you can drive around and shoot with. It sort of reminds me of Grand Theft Auto, but instead you are fighting off invading aliens. Definitely check this one out if you haven't played it before. For $8 I got a copy of Monaco Grand Prix. This is a F1 based racing game that didn't have the rights to use the official driver names or their cars. Despite not being an officially licensed F1 game, it's still a pretty good F1 simulation racing game for the N64. For $3 I got a copy of F1 World Grand Prix. So here's another F1 racing game, but this time it is officially licensed, so it uses all of the drivers, the tracks, the cars from the 1997 racing season. Probably the coolest thing about this game is there is a 97 events mode, where if it is turned on, the same weather and events that happened in the races during the real-life 97 racing season will also happen in the game at the same time, causing certain drivers to drop out of the races at those times. For $5 I got NBA Courtside 2 featuring Kobe Bryant. This is a sequel to the first Courtside game. This is a NBA Sim 5-on-5 teams, but it does include an over-the-top arcade mode. It's one of the better basketball games for the N64, a lot better than the original Courtside game. Here's another basketball game, NBA Showtime NBA on NBC, that I got for $7. This is a 2-on-2 arcade basketball game, kind of similar to the old NBA Jam games. If you enjoyed NBA Jam, you'll probably like this game. For a single dollar, I got NBA Live 2000, yet another basketball game. It's another NBA simulator, but it also has an arcade mode as well. This game includes Michael Jordan in it for the very first time in the series. It's also the last NBA Live game for the N64. For $6 I got a copy of Tigger's Honey Hunt. This is a kid-friendly 2D platformer where you play as Tigger from Winnie the Pooh. It's surprisingly a pretty decent game with great artwork and music. For $8 I got a copy of NFL Blitz 2000. This is an arcade-style NFL football game where all the rules have been thrown out the window, such as pass interference and late hits. It's a lot of fun and much recommended for football fans. And finally, the last game I got was Monopoly for $9. This is a fully 3D remake of the traditional Monopoly board game. It looks and plays decent, but there's not much else to say about it. You'll probably be bored to tears if you try and play it by yourself, so grab a friend or two to play it with you. And that's everything I got to share today. Thank you for watching. Be sure to give the video a thumbs up. That always helps me out. Leave a comment down below if you want to talk about any of these games with me. And if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. And remember, you gotta get the power up to beat the game.